If you know this is the greatest nation on the face of the planet, and if you think it's high time we grab the bull by the horns and get this thing back on track, then this is the show for you. The Steve Batton Show.
It's hour 2 of the show for today, the 22nd of October, 2015. It's a Thursday, which means tomorrow, Friday at 5. We'll tell you more about that coming up here in just a little bit. I'm Steve Batton. Randy Alexander's here, traffic and weather together. And coming up at 4:20-something-ish, Norval Rose of TPNN.com. Norval, of course, is the executive editor there. Coming up on the show, we'll delve a little more into this weird comment that Jeb Bush made.
I saw that there's a Supergirl is on TV. I saw it when I was working out this morning. There's an ad promoting Supergirl. She looked pretty hot.
All righty then. And Hillary Clinton, in the Benghazi hearings today, managed to get this quote in.
Intelligence used by the Bush administration to go to war in Iraq was wrong?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I'll give you the context in which she delivered that line. 3:24 now, the Steve Batton Show. 541-TALK, 541-8255. Joining us now is the former First Lady of Arkansas, Janet Huckabee. Good afternoon, young lady.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous. I hope you like the weather we had for you here today. I hope you're enjoying it.
Oh, it's fabulous. And I'm driving all over Virginia, and it's absolutely perfect day.
I am a big fair tax guy. Let me make sure I understand that the governor wishes to eliminate the Internal Revenue Service from the face of the planet and go to a fair tax. Is that his intent?
It is his intent. Lock the doors of the IRS.
Perfect. You mentioned school shootings. One of the ideas I like, and I just call it because it's easy to understand this way, school marshals, much like air marshals. What does the governor think about the idea of arming well-trained, qualified people to defend our schools as opposed to gun-free zones?
I don't think he would oppose that. We have not sit and discussed it.
Sure.
Obviously, the gun-free zones have been the most dangerous places because they're gun-free. We are both very Second Amendment people. We believe in Second Amendment rights. We both have concealed weapons license.
Good for you.
Anytime you have a gun-free zone, that's the first place a person's going to go take guns.
I call it shooting fish in a barrel. May I ask what you're packing when you pack?
Well, I have several options. I have 380s. I have 2 of those. I have a SIG 40 caliber. I have a Glock. So it depends if I want to carry a small one or a larger one.
Got it.
The Steve Batton Show.
I love it when somebody calls and says, my blood is boiling over. Kevin, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Steve. I want to start off by saying that I am not a person who believes that abortions could be performed up to, 8 months and 29 days.
Okay.
Recently, there was a state that enacted, no abortions after 5 months. I think that's fairly reasonable. I mean, if you can't decide by 5 months whether you want to keep the baby or not, then a decision is made for you. So I'm not a rabid abortion, abortion. However,
but you think it's okay? You think it's okay at 5 months?
Probably yes.
If a woman goes in and has a checkup at 3 months, does the doctor say your fetus is doing fine or your baby's doing fine? Your baby's progressing nicely.
You're talking about colloquial language.
I'm talking about what that is inside that mother, and at what point that becomes a child. You brought that up. That's what I'm talking about. It's not a colloquialism. It's a baby. And it does matter. Words do matter. What we say matters.
And
you even called me to task for saying that I phrased it nicely by saying Planned Parenthood was being forced. I don't have any problem saying that we would have forced the mother to take a look at what she's about to kill before she does it. I don't have any trouble saying that, Kevin.
Okay, you don't have any trouble saying it, but I have a problem with someone trying to force that into law. That's where we're going to disagree.
That's where we're going to disagree.
I mean, I don't have problems with people donating their body to science. I don't have people donating, organ donation and so forth and so on. And this is kind of the same procedure.
It's not the same procedure, Kevin. And again, that's where we're going to disagree, in that this is a person deciding to end another person's life. And I don't think they have the right to do that once they've created that life.
Well, and I agree, a person does not have a right to end another person's life. Our disagreement, again, is going to come down to, is it a person?
Okay. And I think it is. You think it's not. Kevin, thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
All right.
Mark in Hampton. Mark, you're on with Steve Batton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Steve. I would say thank you for your defense of life, and I've never heard anybody on any other talk shows, period, stand up and defend pro-life like you have and calling them out. I really appreciate that you're not afraid to speak on it.
He's not transgender, transracial, or trans fat. Turns out he's trans financial.
Yep, I'm a rich guy stuck in a poor man's body.
The Steve Batton Show.
Attorneys for Gavin Grimm, 16, also said U.S. District Judge Robert Dumar of Norfolk has made statements indicating he may be suspicious of medical science regarding gender identity and that he objected to lawyers publicizing their clients' transgender status. There's a very simple solution. What equipment do you have? We used to label it the little boy's room or the little girl's room. Just put a V on one door and a P on the other, and then you know where to go. It's really simple.
Steve Batton.
Ben Carson. I'm looking at a post here. Apparently he was on Glenn Beck, and he did a rapid-fire yes or no kind of thing. Again, keep in mind, this is an individual writing this about what he heard on the Beck Show. Pro-border fence that people can dig tunnels under or just go enter from the other three sides of the country without a fence. Okay, now wait a minute. Let me say something about that right now. I like the idea. You could call me crazy. People have done it before, and I'm sure they'll do it again. One thing I agree with is build a freaking wall that you can't get through. This whole thing, well, they'll just dig a tunnel under it. There is technology that can detect if and when that is happening, and you can put a stop to that. You build a wall, let somebody tunnel under it, you're still going to have far less of a porous border than we have now. One of the funniest moments to me, people say things sometimes, and the way they say it, it stops everyone else in their tracks. Jeb Bush was actually asked about the wall several weeks ago. What about building a wall? And it's like, you just can't do that. It's not practical. And the person that was questioning him said, well, what about the Great Wall of China? Bush actually said, that was 600 years ago. And the questioner stopped in their tracks right there. Great big slammed on the brakes and stopped. No further question about the wall. I'm sorry, but if that exchange had been between me and Jeb Bush, and I had said, what do you think of the wall? And he said, that's not feasible. It's like, well, you can't build a wall across the whole border. Well, China did it. Well, that was 600 years ago. Well, has technology, Governor Bush, gotten better or worse since 600 years ago? What are you telling me? That was 600 years ago, so we can't do it today? Because what kind of weird backward logic is that?
Here's what I found on the web for the Steve Batton Show.
So I'm going to give a very gritty, down-to-earth talk about what's wrong, and here are actual practical ways in which people can fix it.
Now, one of the guys that is touting right now and is in the news about making America great again, and I know you're probably cringing, you know I'm going to say it, is Donald Trump. I'd love to hear your take on Donald Trump and how people are reacting to him. I don't know if you saw that John Heilemann from Bloomberg did this roundtable focus group, and those people, to a person in the room, loved what he was saying and said he, despite being a billionaire, is an everyman, and we like him. I'd love to hear your take on that.
I'm actually happy to see Trump out there because, first of all, this is the early stages, and he's making the race a lot more interesting, a lot more entertaining. The other thing is that he's proving that people are actually very disgusted with both the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment. So I think that Trump is, he's a little bit of a trigger, and he's pointing to serious problems in our political system, and people are saying, at least we want to hear some more from him about them because he's got the independence and he's got the big fat wallet so that he's not really beholden to anyone. So he can give pretty much anyone the finger, and that's actually a good thing.
PC is a computer, not a way of life. This is the Steve Batton Show